Bruchim abon b'shem Hashem b'shem Yegin Shir like to welcome everyone to today's shir from Harav Yakov that's Mishlita and Havas Cotton with Tefillah Beis HaKnesses, bringing children to Shul. That was great sister sponsoring a shir called Yegin Shir 718-851-8651 or email ist@yeshivanet.com. Rav Smith.
Recently we heard a tumult, you could say. There was a bungalow colony that made a takana last year that children cannot be brought to Shul. Usually in a bungalow colony it's more tempting. You bring the stroller, you bring the child, the wife went shopping, wife wants to sleep late, and he brings the child to Shul, and it got out of hand. There were concerns about the children distracting, the children weren't clean, and others felt it's wrong. Isn't there an inyan to bring a child to Shul? So there are many shilas. Rather, I started this sugya and I realized that it's a full sugya to learn the halachas of bringing children. Of course, part 2 will be bringing young girls to Shul. Now the question, of course, is why not? Don't we know there's a benefit of bringing children to Shul? They hear an amein, they could adav kedusha. True, but then again, to bring a child to Shul, or any time we have enough from a Shul for our own benefit, should be awesome. Person can't go to Shul just because it's air conditioned. That's a Gemara in Masechta Megillah, Shulchan Aruch. To have hana, to come into Shul to have a personal hana is wrong. So maybe, if you look at it more honestly, you're bringing the child so you could babysit. A person wants his wife to sleep late, so he brings the child to Shul so he could sleep late. That's being a good husband, but that a heta in Shul. But the more serious issue is when the child disturbs, or worse yet, when it's not clean, and then is a question of the davening. So we have to try to do is we have to jog our memory to go through, I guess you could do it, go through Shas. Where do we have any indications one way or the other? Don't forget, there's no electricity in Shulchan Aruch, but they had children in times of Shulchan Aruch. So did they bring the children or not? So what comes to mind is really a pasuk in Parashat Vayelech. Hakel esa'am ha'noshim v'noshim v'taf. And that's the mitzvah of Hakel, to bring men, women, and children. Frag the Gemara in Chagiga, Daf Gimel Amid Aleph. Okay, you bring men and women, but Taf, presumably Taf are young children. Why do they come? We want to give schar to the ones that brought the children. Now this is an important concept. A yid does something, l'shem mitzvah. You bring children, you get schar. But on this Gemara says Tosfos, and I quote, "Va'al zeh samchu lahavi ketanim bebeis haknesses." This is the makar that you're allowed to bring children to Shul. Now Tosfos uses the lashon of samchu. They were soymach. In other words, it's a problem, but you can't soymach zayin. What's the problem? Maybe, like I told you, maybe it's not so posh to bring a child to Shul. Maybe if you're doing it for your own benefit, it's not so good. Kamash Malon, if there's a benefit for the ruchnis of the child, maybe that would justify it. So we have a makar, the first makar, and that's the Tosfos in Chagiga Daf Gimel, samchu to bring children. But maybe there's another source. Now there's a well-known Mishnah in Avos, Perek Beis Mishnah Ches. People mistake the Pashut Pshat, but the Mishnah says that Rabbi Yeshua was one of those, they said about him, Ashrei Yeladatoi. So the Welt knows the Pshat. What does it mean, Ashrei Yeladatoi? Because when he was a young baby, his mother brought his stroller, his carriage we used to call it, but she brought him to Shul, and he heard the Kol Torah, and this had a very major impact on his life. So you see, we do bring children to Shul, but the emphasis is not so accurate. Because really, Rashi and the Rav, both Rishonim on that Mishnah, learned the Pashut Pshat was different. That Lamaisa, even before he was born, when she was expecting him, listen to the lashon of Rashi on the Mishnah. B'chol Yom, she went to every Beis Medrash in the city, and she implored the people, daven for my child that he should grow and be a big tzaddik. Imagine, every day in every shul, she implored the people to daven for her child. This gives new meaning of when the Brisker Rav said the atzlacha in raising children is tilim mitreren. Well, she did it before he was born even. So we definitely see that the importance of tefillah regarding children. But where do we see this concept about bringing young children? So this is a Yerushalmi. The Yerushalmi is in Yevamos Perek Aleph, Halacha Vav, teaching a pasuk in Yeshaya, a very interesting pasuk. Es mi yoyredeyev, es mi yavan shmua, gemulei mi chalav. It sounds like, who are the paiskim? The nursing children that nurse from their mother. You ever see a paisik that's a baby? So Zok Yerushalmi, this is going on Rabbi Yeshua, because his mother brought him to Beis HaKnesses, so he should absorb the words of Torah, and that made Rabbi Yeshua the grace of paisik. So Esmi Yoyredeya, the Gemulei Michalav, because he came to the Beis Medrash at such a young age. Now, Lamaisa, we could put two and two together. Maybe that was also another reason Rabbi Yeshua was so great. Besides the tefillah of the Gedolim that davened for him, his mother brought him to Beis Medrash at such a young age. And if you look in the Rav, on that Mishnah, his second shot is that he always was brought to Beis Medrash at a young age. So we see two sources to bringing children to Shul. And don't forget, very young children. He was a nursing baby. Parshas Vayelech we saw, and also now we see the famous Mishnah according to some Pshatim. In fact, when you learn the Parsha Vayelech, Lamed Aleph Yud Gimel, B'nei Mashal Yadu, they don't know anything, they're young. Yishmu v'lamdu l'yiras Hashem l'keichem kol hayomim. Aval harayim. The everlasting effect that bringing children to shul has on a child. Now, Lamaisa, it's not so simple, because you might ask a question. The Yerushalmi is talking about bringing a child to shul to hear the Kol Torah. But who said that tefillah does the same trick? So the emes is, it's probable that tefillah is also chashuv. It's also Dvar Hashem. Plus, a big part of our davening is Torah. Krishma, Tilim, Halalukis. So I saw the Oznidbur Chelik Tes Mem Daled speaks this out, that even though it's the Rishalmi is talking about the schus of Torah, which of course is a greater schus, but davening is also a big schus. Now, Lamaisa, the Orzarua, this is an important, we'll soon see, a very important part of our shir today, is one of the Rishonim in Hilchas Erev Shabbos Siman Memches, combines the Mishnah in Avos and the Yerushalmi, and therefore we bring our children to shul at a young age. But it's interesting, there's a little more to it. And that is Masechta Sefer, also from the times of Tanoim, Perek Yud Ches Mishnah Vav. He's going on the pasuk in Parshas Nitzavim. In other words, till now we focused on Vayelech, but in Parshas Nitzavim, Atem Nitzavim, Tabchem the Sheichem. What's Tabchem? So Zokti Masechta Seifrim. From here we see Mikan Nohagu Lahavi Debenois Yisrael Katanois Love the Beis HaKnesses. Now this, to my knowledge, is the first time we see bringing girls. He's speaking about Banois Yisrael Katanois. So while we did see two sources to bring young boys, the Masechta Seifrim expands that to bringing young girls as well. The word Tapchem obviously means all children. No? Why make a differentiation between boys and girls? So here we have a very good case to say, based on a Taisis Chagiga Parshas Vayelech, the Mishnah Navas of the Yerushalmi, and now Masechta Seifrim, even bringing boys and certain girls would be okay. However, before we're too quick to apply this, we have to realize there's a shlah. Now the shlah is in the newer print, Chele Gimel Amid Shin Lamed Zayin. He brings a Taisis Chagiga, the great benefit of bringing young children, and then basically he's very critical of those that bring children that disturb others during davening. And he minces no words. He says, today it's more often litein oynish limaviein, not litein schar. They're mechalel beis haknesses. They turn the shul into a playground, as we always often see. And sometimes, pardon me, they turn the shul into a beis hakisi rachmanu litzlan. They tear the svarim. And he says, after they become very lively and start talking, the parents join. And he describes the terrible churban in bringing children. And worst of all, he says, Hergel Nasser Teva. They come to shul at a young age, and shul becomes a place for entertainment. You know, it's to keep busy. And they get old and they have the same attitude. The shul is the place to keep busy. The Magen Avraham, Mishnah Berurah, and Siman Tzadik Ches quote the Shlah, and they say Dvar of Nechayim. Because the Shlah concludes emphatically, Soiv Davar Roy Ladam Shaloi Lavi Ataf. But to bring them, you're playing with making all this churban. Now, of course, the Shlah is not arguing on Taisus and Chagigah. He's not arguing on the Seidas that we saw from Sech the Seifrim. It's the oldest truth, Mar Amachada V'loi Pligi. The Shlah was talking about a child that's not ready, that can't be expected to daven. So what's he going to do? He'll be busy. He'll keep busy. He'll do things that go from bad to worse. But as the Shlah himself writes, in the end of his words, when a child understands the importance of davening, he's a Gil Lechinach to come to Shul, bring him to Shul, but keep an eye on him. Make sure that he's davening, he's saying Kaddish and Kedusha, he's answering to Kaddish and Kedusha, and he should sit there with Derech Eretz. In other words, it's not a machlokes. When a child is young, he doesn't belong in Shul. The Shul is not a babysitting service, it's not a playground. He's only going to disturb. And that's litein oynish l'meviyayim. But once he's a gil l'chinuch, and he doesn't disturb, adarabah. Chinuch is a wonderful thing. Now you have to realize, when they brought the babies to shul, babies don't run around. Babies are in a stroller, in a carriage. So they kept, what? So they keep the child outside, and as soon as he cries, the mother whizzes him off. But to bring a baby, there's less risk of making trouble. But a child that runs around, as we know, is a problem. Now, of course, you're right. If a child starts to cry, it's disturbing. So there has to be a parent that's ready. As soon as the child starts, making a little bit of noise, starting to wake up, take the child away. But again, it's something that with simple seichel, that if the child is brought, and more importantly, if he's trained, you're coming to a shul, it's not a playground. I can never forget the story. Someone told me he came to shul one Shabbos, and his nephew was there for the first time. So he goes over, and he says, Yankee was named, Yankee, Shalom Aleichem, welcome to shul. And the child turned right in his face, like he was traumatized. And the father couldn't, this person told me, I don't understand. He says, Yankee, Shalom Aleichem, why don't you answer? And the child was mamish quiet. So he ran to his brother and says, what's with your son? So what do you mean? So I said, Shalom Aleichem, he didn't answer. He goes, oh, Baruch Hashem. I told him, you're coming to shul, don't talk to anybody. I didn't say not to an uncle, but at least it's working. And the child refused to talk to anybody. Okay, you have to tell the child, a little bit before davening, maybe you allow him. But the chinuch, that we come to shul, we don't talk. That's a lasting chinuch, but it's also effective for now. So basically, both are true. Litein schar l'miviyayim, sometimes litein oynish l'miviyayim, and I would add maybe a b'derech drush, the parent that brings the child at the right age and prepares the child and mechanech the child in shul, that's also part of litein schar l'miviyayim. Bring the child to shul, make sure he's ready, and make sure it works. Now let's apply this to the many shilas, and I think you should see how simple it should be. First of all, the question we began with, is it a good idea to make a takana in a bungalow colony, especially when people bring younger children, because it's convenient. You stroll the child there, and the mother went shopping, and you bring the child to Mincha and Ma'ariv. So, Lamaisa, a young child does not belong in shul. There's nothing to talk about. It's a disaster. Taisach and Giga was not talking about a child that's going to disturb. No one could allow bringing children to shul when it's chav l'cheir. Even if there's a great benefit for the child, I don't doubt that. But if it's disturbing others, that's encroaching on their rights. Now, lamais, it's hard to make a takana. Some children yes, some children not. Mi yichyi, mi yamas. How do you do it? Well behaved, not well behaved. What do you look at their report card? So they make a takana till a certain age. No children should be brought, and it makes sense. What age? That you can figure out. You get together with the Hanhola. But Lamaisa, there's a whole siman in Shulchan Aruch, siman tzadik vav, yimna kol tir da'is kedei sheyichavin. No? To bring a child is bringing a distraction. You know, imagine you have a fancy China store, a crystal store, a very expensive, items. So this is a sign, no young children allowed, right? Anybody feels offended? A child can make a lot of damage, right? Davening is also very fragile. Davening is also very precious. Davening is also very important. What's wrong with making takana, no young children? They're only going to disturb, not going to help the davening. Now, when it gets to an age that he's Gil L'Chinuch, he does it right, then we could point to the Masechta Seifrim and the Yishalmi and the Tosfos, but it has to be that he belongs and won't destroy the Kedusha's Beis HaKnesses. Now, what age of Chinuch is an excellent question. And for that alone, it's worth giving a share. There is no one age for Chinuch. The Gemara says that depending on each mitzvah, tzitzis, does dalad minim. He has to be ready. In fact, the Brisker Rav once pointed out, Hayadeel and Aneya, and if he doesn't know how to make Nanum, he's not chayv in dalad minim. Why? He knows how to pick it up. Nanum is only an extra credit. The Teretz, if he can't do it perfectly, he's not ready. So every mitzvah has its own share. But one thing I would add, what age? It's amazing. You look in halacha, in different mitzvahs, there's different ages. But there's always two ages. 5 or 6, 6 or 7. Now, imagine I say, what time is Ma'ariv tonight? 8 or 9. What age is that? Tell me, what time is that? But the age of Chinuch is not a time for Ma'ariv. It's always fluctuating. It's always around, approximately. 7 or 8, 5 or 6. Because there's no one size fits all. There are some children that are late bloomers. They wake up, so to speak, a little later in life. But you can't make one size fits all. More importantly, this is the child's first introduction into davening in Beis HaMedrash. You have to make it a pleasant experience. It has to be a geshmaka experience. If he comes to shul too young and you decide you're going to crack down and you're going to make him be quiet, you're going to subdue him, you're turning shul into a torture chamber, into a struggle. Now, Lamaisi, right, his brother came to shul at that age and his brother did fine. But that's the Yisoid Aleph of Chinuch HaNoich L'Nar. Al Pidarka, every child is different. So you can't look what you did to your other child or what someone else does to their child. He has to be ready that he will appreciate it. Davening is long, it's not like eating matzah. He has to be ready. Now, of course, I would mention an age that someone told me, maybe start from the end of davening and work your way backwards. In other words, it's usually more possible in a bungalow colony. Tell him to come for Musaf. So he could have a Musaf. He could say Kedusha, Kaddish, and guess what? He made it till the end of davening. He feels great. He stayed till the end. Now, he doesn't know he came just 20 minutes ago, but that's not material. You come in the beginning of davening, so he starts to burn out, and by the time comes Shemona Esrei, he's restless. So he failed. No one likes to be a failure. So he associates davening with failure. There's something very wrong with that chinuch. So make it time that he could come and he'll succeed, and he's succeeding. There's another halacha in Hilchos Chinuch regarding bringing to shul. That's interesting. I collected a number of halachas that you see get the child involved. The Mechaber says in Kuf Chav Daled Yud Zayin, V'yalamdu bonav aktanim sheyanu amein, ki miyad shatinik oin amein, yesh lechelik olam haba. That itself is amazing. Amein is the child, a person's ticket to olam haba. Once he says amein, he's zoichet to olam haba. Now this is based on a Gemara in Sanhedrin of Kuf Yud Amud Beis, where the Gemara says, when does a person come to olam haba? When he answers amein, which speaks volumes of what amein is. But my point is different. That we bring a child to shul and we have a program. Tell him the importance of saying amein. Now you're wondering, who said the Gemara and Shulchan Aruch talk about saying amein on davening? Maybe it's talk about saying amein to a breakfast. But if you look at the Kol Boy in the end of Siman Yud Aleph, he says, Oy v'oy on those that talk by davening, because they talk and they don't answer amein, and their children don't answer amein, and they're ruining their children. In other words, this halacha, which the Mechaber quotes from the Kol Boy, is the amein that's said by davening. Of course, at home also. But as Mishtabur explains, bring him to shul, train him to say amein, and tell him what amein is. If he knows amein is olam haba, he's more involved in davening, and you have less the Yitzhar to talk. Also, another halacha, and this is interesting, this is an Urza Ruah that I mentioned, and the Ramah, in the end of Siman Kuf Mem Tes, quotes this. He says, after laining, this day they had made a whole spiel. They had someone sit on a very fancy chair, holding the Sefer Torah, and the children would file through past him, and they would kiss the Sefer Torah. Minhag yafahu lechanech es atinoikes lemitzvah ulezarzon. It's noteworthy. This is based on the Masechta Sefer that we mentioned, that we make this special hands-on chinuch. This person holds the Sefer Torah, and children pass through and give the Sefer Torah a big kiss. The Ramah, in the end of Reish Mem Tes, use a different lashon. We are trying to instill chavivas haTorah in children, and the shul is one place to do that. Now you'll say, why do this? Because it's the oldest truth. Action speaks louder than words. Or chitzonius ma'or pnimius ad nifkal fi poloisav. You talk to a child about avas haTorah, it's wonderful. Chinuch is important. But what's much more effective is hands-on. Come to shul, let him say amein. Let him kiss the sefer Torah. Let him get involved. Because action speaks louder than words. But what inspired me, how you see everything has to be done properly, the Siddur Yavitz, it's an after the words Gadlu, he said when the children kiss the sefer Torah, make sure they're clean. Sometimes they're running nose, pardon me. Sometimes they come out from playing outside, they're all fashvitzt, and they run to kiss the sefer Torah. So the Yavitz, wait, stop them. Tell them, this is sefer Torah. Clean yourself. You have to be royu to kiss the sefer Torah. So to me it was very appropriate how chinuch has to be done with details. He's running to kiss the sefer Torah, wonderful. But is he ready? But more importantly, if you do it with a passion, and don't yell at him, say, "Hey, come over, you kiss the sefer Torah, let me wipe you up, you look fashvitz." You should be ready to kiss the sefer Torah. It's an everlasting chinuch in doing things right. So this is another halacha of the hands-on chinuch that we give. And then there's another halacha. Interesting. We learned the Gemara in Megillah, Daf Lamed Beis, is quoted in Shulchan Aruch Kuf Mem Zayin Aleph, that I can't say the biggest aliyah, but the most chashuva schar is given for Hagba and Galilah. Goyal noitel schar kulam. Okay, most places can say it's going on Hagba, but says the Shar Ephraim, listen to his lashon in Yud Chav Beis, mitzvah Galilah afki rabahi, even though it's a very big schus, nohagu lechabed af lektanim shegiu la'oines ha'peutais. Why? Kidei lechancham b'mitzvahs. Now he's admitting it's not so pasha this minhag, because it's such a chashuva kibud, maybe give it only to gedolim, and taka some shuls will not give Galilah to a katan. But the Mishnah Berurah quotes this lashon verbatim. Kuf Mem Zayin, Sif Katan Zayin. Even though it's a big schus, give it to the child. You know why? You'll build the child's self-esteem. We're giving you a big schus because you are a big schus. I want you to be a big schus. And that's why it's important, Taka, when a child gets Galilah, make a big deal about it, glorify it. He comes home after davening, oh, Yanki got Galilah, and make it big because it is chashuv. But again, like everything else, chacham eina b'roshei. I've seen this too many times, and I would like to mention it. Your child or grandchild was mechubed with Galilah, wonderful. But don't forget, he never went to Galilah school. He has no idea how to do it. So it happens 99 out of 100 times that a well-meaning person yells at the child, "Oh, you have to pick up the gartel, shlish elyon." Now, there's no halach anyhow, but anyhow, that's by mezuzah. But they yell at the child because he doesn't do it right. Now, what do you expect? The child never learned. Does he know you're not supposed to touch the cloth of the Sefer Torah? So they mean well, they're trying to guide him, but he was never guided. So if you know your child or grandchild is getting Galilah, maybe go along with him and tell him what to do, because he doesn't know. He's groping in the darkness. If he knows what he's doing, he'll have a geschmack to a Galilah. If his debut was a failure, he was yelled at, you expect him to enjoy coming to shul? Simple things that you have to be on top of it to make sure it doesn't happen wrongly. Next question is a big sugya, but it's really rooted in our sugya. And that is the question, someone's making a simcha, he's making a kiddush, making a shev brachas in shul. So people come, they want to kiss the Baal Simcha. So people say, no, but now the kiss in Beis Medrash. Where did that come from? So the makar of this is mamash our sugya. Listen to a lashon of the Binyamin Ze'ev. He was one of the Kadmonim who lived kamat 100 years ago. In Sivan Kuf Samach Gimel, he was before the Ramah. Lo yanashik adam levana bebeis hakneses. You shouldn't kiss a child in shul. Lo idea to show she'ein ahava ka'avas HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So we see he's talking about don't kiss your child in Beis HaKnesses, and the reason is to show a unlimited love to Kadosh Baruch Hu. In other words, it might interfere with Avas Hashem if you're kissing someone else. Now, Lamaisa, this is the makar of our minhag. But we could wonder, how about after davening by a kiddush? It's not a time of davening. Maybe taketz mutter. Maybe it's a din in Beis HaKnesses. There's an earlier source for this minhag, a little more brief. The sefer Chasidim, one of the Rishonim, Siman Reish Nun Hey, Lo yanashik adam bebeis HaKnesses es benoi. Again, we see that concept of kissing a child in Beis HaKnesses. The Ramah quotes this in Reish Tzadik Ches Sif Katan Aleph, Asal adam yanashik bonav haketanim bebeis HaKnesses. He throws in the word young child, as does the Chayodim minyan Zayin Tezvav and the Kitzur Yud Gimel Aleph. So maybe we could assume it's only a young child. So now, when your son is making a kiddush at the birth of his daughter, he's a big boy already. He's a father. Maybe you're allowed to kiss him, but it's not mistavra. I'll tell you why. Because the sources, I should say, the B'yaman Zev, Sefer Chasidim don't mention ketanim. Why did the Ramah and others mention ketanim? So here we have to have an important point that is often overlooked. They were talking about kissing in a Beis HaKnesses. We kamat don't have today a Beis HaKnesses. The real Beis HaKnesses was used exclusively for davening. You weren't even allowed to drink a cup of water in a Beis HaKnesses. There was no mezuzah by the door of the Beis HaKnesses. There was definitely no kiddush held in a Beis HaKnesses. There was no vort, shever brachas. So why should one kiss his adult child in Beis HaKnesses? The only havamina would be by a young child. Oh, the child davens good, and he's a child sort of brings out our cheshik to kiss our children. So that's why it has the lashon of bonav, ktanim, but it's lav dafka only ktanim. And what's interesting, the Yosef Oimitz, he was born in the year Shin Lametz, 450 years ago. In Siman Zamachei, he writes, "B'sefer Chasidim Kosav, she'ein l'nashek yeled b'beis HaKnesses." Don't kiss a child in Beis HaKnesses. Now that's misquoting the Sefer Chasidim. The Sefer Chasidim does not write the word yeled. He wrote, "Lo yanashek adam b'beis HaKnesses b'noi." But I think the pshat is pashit, because it's hainu hach. The Sefer Chasidim, the Binyamin Ze'ev, said Bona, but they meant Ketanim. Because why should a person kiss a child in Beis HaKnesses? So that's why it's clear, Pashit, that Lamaisa, kissing a child in Shul, even an adult child, the Ofruf or by Bar Mitzvah, if it's during davening, one should not kiss on a child, whether it's a young child or an adult child. And that is Pashit. The next question, which is really important, is how about, like we said, by the kiddush after davening? Is the Issa don't kiss in a shul the makom of Avas Hashem? So then, if it's a shul, don't kiss the child. Or maybe it's during davening. It's the place of Avas Hashem. The nafkamina would be simply in shul when there's an affair that's not part of davening. Again, the kiddush is after davening, the shever brachas. Let me add a little more geshmak. No one ever said, never kiss a child, to show she'ein ahavak avas hamakom. Why not? That's unreasonable. You have to show affection to children. The issa is, in shul, by davening, is a time of avas hamakom. You have to limit yourself to avas hamakom. So now the question is, once we understand it has to do with Abbas Hamokoim, the question is, what exactly is the Yissa? Is it a din in davening, b'shas davening? If davening is okay. Is it a din in Beis HaMedrash, Beis HaKnesses? Then even after davening. So back to our original sources, and Shemu Suchi Nafshechem. The Binyamin Zev, the Sefer Chassidim, say the word Beis HaKnesses. But they don't say what time. But the Shulchan Aruch quotes this halach in Siman Tzadik Ches, which is all about Hilchos Tefillah. Very good. The Kitzur Shulchan Aruch and the Chayodam put this halacha in Hilchos Beis HaKnesses of their Svarim, not in Hilchos Tefillah. They say you're not allowed to do this in Shul and not to kiss children. So I'm confused. But I did see the Piskei Tshuvas Tzadik Ches Zayin. He quotes a sefer I don't have, but he quotes a sefer B'Shem Rav Moshe. Rav Moshe says from the Lashon of Shulchan Aruch that puts it in Hilchos Tefillah is a raya that is a din in davening, not a din in Beis HaMedrash. Also, the Bir HaGra on this Ramah sends us to a Zoya, and the Lashon of the Zoya there is B'shas Loisa, don't kiss a child. So we have a good case to believe that it's lav dafka, it's a din in davening, but the shul is not a problem per se. However, there's a sefer Oirech Neman that I do have, and he says it's not true. The place of the shul is the Mokim Avas Hashem, and that's a place inappropriate for kissing. So our simple shaila, is it mutter to kiss in a shul after davening, is a machloek gedolei haposkim. I saw also the Beis Baruch on the Chayodam and Klal Yud Zayin. He says you should be machmar not to kiss during davening or even after davening. So lamaisa we could say hamekel to kiss after davening. Yes, shalmi lismoich. Trust me, if a father comes to his son's kiddush and the son wants to kiss the father or fakir, the father wants to kiss the son, and the son like recoils and mevayish his father, that's a lack of mishkal chassidus. Ramosha holds it's mutter after davening. It's a din in davening. So if you're going to cause a lack of kvoid habriyas, if you're going to embarrass someone, you should be saimach on the makilim. What do I mean saimach on the makilim? That it's not a din in shul, it's a din in davening. Now, if it's not chav lacherim, so there's what to be choishish, not to kiss in shul, anytime, fine. How about a fakir teshayla? It's during davening. Let's say they have a bar mitzvah being held in a simcha hall. There's a sefer Torah there, but it's not a Beis HaMedrash. It's a simcha hall. So, but it's during davening. Oh, during davening, all agree is a problem. So to kiss the bar mitzvah boy after laining should be a problem. But the big question is, which might alleviate a lot of our questions, let's step back a moment. Who said there's an issa kissing stam bal simcha? Maybe it's only like the lashon of the Sefer Chassidim, of the Binyamin Zev, the Yanashik Adam, Bona Bebeis HaKnesses. Maybe the kiss of Bal Simcha, the Chassan, or whatever it is not a problem at all. Maybe it's an issa exclusively for children. However, we should say Zil Basa Taima. If the reason is to show Ein Ahava Ka'avas HaMokoim, and this is an Ashika Shel Ahava, it's inappropriate in B'shas Tefillah, in a shul. And Lamaisa, this seems to be halacha Lamaisa. Because the poskim discuss, and I will soon see in Makairis earlier sources, about the minhag by Svardim, that after one gets an aliyah, when he goes back to his seat, he goes over to both the Rav and his father, and kisses their hand. Why are you kissing your father's hand? Teretz, he's not doing it al ahava, he's doing it al kavod. And Svardim are very much, focusing on kavod. But if you have to have a heta to kiss the Rav, and you have to say the heta is because Lamaisa, you're doing it al kavod, it's mashma, it's lav dafka parent. The Oirech Neman, Takanawa Siman, he says something more beautiful. He says, really, it's lav dafka a child, it's anybody. Why did the Shulchan Aruch, why did the poskim say banav? Because by a regular person, often it's not al ahava, it's al kavod. You meet a mechutin, but he insists it's lav dafka a son. If you're kissing someone else al ahava, that should not be done in shul. But one thing I did see, the poskim all point to, interesting Parsha Shmois, by Yefkesheyu, Moshe met his old brother Aaron, Bahar Alekim, by Yishak Loi. how do you kiss a brother? Haralikim? Teretz, it wasn't mitoich ahava. It was mitoich kavod because of chicha gadol. If it's out kavod, all agree is mutter. And I saw there's a number of sources that they kissed a Talmud Chacham to show kavod in the Beis HaKnesses. Because you're doing it out kavod, that's part of Avos HaMokim. But one thing I will say, that what I did see, the Poskim say this, the Leino Shabeach in Parashas Bereishis, Tov Ayin Tes says this, sometimes a child comes to you during davening, he's crying hysterically. And you want to try to comfort him. So the kissing him, which is more of an achama than ahava, is okay. You have to have seichel also. The next big question is mothers kissing daughters in the Ezes Nashim. So you might say that Ezes Nashim has less kedushin than Beis HaMedrash, which is true, but still, that's the place of Avos HaMokim for Nashim. And therefore, it's the same halacha, parents to children, not in the Beis HaKnesses, Beis HaMedrash. A big question would be, which happens, maybe it shouldn't happen, we'll get to that soon, when the child is davening someplace, and he started late, or whatever it is, and you want to go out to the bathroom, and he's davening by the door. Are you allowed to walk in front of a child who's still davening Shemoneh Esrei? Oh, let's talk about he's davening the seat. But he's davening, and you want to back up your Shemoneh Esrei, and right behind you, there's a child davening. You're wondering, what's the shaila? He's davening. You know that they walk in Dalad Amos of a Mispal. It's a Siman, a Shulchan Aruch, Siman Kuf Beis. But Dr. Buchacha in Siman, our Siman Kuf Beis Taka, that maybe, although the children's davening is very, very choshev, but maybe since a child doesn't have much kavanah, don't forget, a child ein loi das, maybe you're allowed to step back in front of a child that's davening. The B'Zhana Rav in Das Torah Kuv Beis Dalit, he brings this Eishel Avram, this Buchacha, he said, B'Zman Hazeh, that no one's mechaven, but certainly not children, you could be mekel. However, it's a big chiddush, because the emes is, to make a long story short, the Mishtabur and Simon in Sif Cotton Dalit said there are two reasons why we don't walk in front of someone davening. One reason is Yimvatlas Kavana. You're disturbing him. All of a sudden he sees a movement. And the second reason is a person davening is talking to the Shechina. And it's very disrespectful when I'm talking to someone walk in between us two. I'm talking to Ruvain and Shimon walks in front of us. It's not nice. So the Zoya understood, and that's the gadlus of a Yid's davening, that when I'm davening, I'm talking to the Rebbeinu Shalom. How could someone walk in between me and the Rebbeinu Shalom? So that reason applies to a child also. Even if he has no kavana, so you can't be mevatzik, but that reason applies. And the Bialachas takes this from a different angle. In Bialach, Simon Kuf Beis quotes a Maimon Mordechai. Let's say a person is davening, and he's davening very much kavana, but he has his talus wrapped around his eyes, and he sees nothing. So if the reason is bittul kavana, there's no problem. But if the reason is mafsik the shchina, it's a problem. And that's why the sefer Chanoich Lanar, the Yankel Bloy sefer Perikut Alpha Orahei, he has this very shaila, and he says that when a child says a bracha, you're allowed to answer amein even during davening. When you're allowed to answer amein, let's say to the zimra, because a child's davening is a bracha, and therefore don't walk in front of a child that's davening. Rabbi Yakov Zichron Bracha said, a child is davening, both reasons apply, because he's trying to have kavanah. Why are you disturbing him? And also the shechina reason. I think we could say pretty comfortably that most poskim, and other poskim say that we try to avoid walking in front of a child that's davening. Now, Lamaisa, there are stories of Gedolim. I know I heard this from Rav Shlomo Miller, Tishver was Rav Moshe Rivlin, who was a Rav Moshe. Rav Moshe once by a convention, and he's walking with a number of other Rashi Yeshiva, and suddenly he stopped, he froze. So he asks, what's the matter? He goes, don't stay avant, there's a wall. He goes, where's the wall? So there was a child davening, and he wouldn't walk in front of the child that was davening. And these stories are about the Chazon Ish, but I also want to make another point, hopefully that will prevent these things from happening. As a parent, we have to make sure our wonderful child who's davening should not become a bar b'shus harabim. Typically he comes late, davens by the door, and then people can't go out, or even if he's davening in a seat, but if he comes late, so people can't step back to the child. So you have to mechanech the child. It's never too early for this chinuch. Tracht von jenem. Think about someone else. Be thoughtful. Be observant. If you want to daven, come late. Tell him you want to daven. He has to go. I don't want you to disturb him. Go in the front, in the corner, and daven. Find a corner. But a child that davens and becomes a public nuisance, pardon me, is not doing the right thing. Someone asked me a very interesting question. He found the Mechab and Kufnun Aleph Sivav. One should not come into shul without a yarmulke. Does that apply to a young child who typically doesn't wear a yarmulke until they're under the age 3? So the emes the Machta Shekel and Siman Reish Pei Beis Yivkat and Ches prove that this Ramah this halacha is talking about a young child in Shulchan Aruch, because an adult has to wear a yarmulke, but I don't think he means a young child under the age 3, because that's like a girl basically to that age. So the minhag is children under 3 do come without a yarmulke, but over 3 there should be an insistence he should wear a yarmulke. Point to ponder. I always wondered about this. Maybe this will make an awareness. There's an old Yiddish minhag, I don't doubt it, that by duchening we take the children under the father's talus. Now, why? Because we don't want the child to look at the kohen's hands, so we take him under the talus. Now, the emes today, the kahanim cover the hands, so the reason is not that relevant today. But I have another problem. The real reason to take the child under the talus is he shouldn't disturb. Now, taking a few young children under the talus is more disturbing. They have not yet invented a soundproof talus that would, that will muffle the noise. So it seems to me that it became like a way to avoid tirda and distraction, and causes more distraction. So I want to tell you, there's no halacha in Shulchan Aruch you have to cover the child with a talus. A bacha told me in the yeshiva that Shul, he was duchening, they were duchening, he was standing there listening, and someone came over and threw a talus over his head. Gililah said in the Aseret Adibris, you can't be without a talus over the head. No shalacha. If it's good, but if it doesn't work, find a better eight, so maybe make 2 separate sections. But if it's disturbing the shul, which sometimes it happens, there's a lot of noise coming from that talus, that minhag should be discontinued. Kriyas HaTorah is another perfect question which has to be addressed. Even if a child's Hagia לחינוך for davening, and I must mention the Pri Megadim says the age for davening for Krishma is 6 or 7. I did see the Chuvas Min HaShamayim, one of the Rishonim, he said the age is 10 or 11 for davening. Again, it's davening is not as simple as we would like it to be. But laining is certainly more challenging. Laining is long. So avada, there's an inyan of chinuch with children regarding laining. But make sure it becomes a pleasant experience. Like everything else we say, because a child that is forced to sit through the entire laining and he can't do it, he's plotting, he's probably hagia lechinuch. If he can't sit through laining, he's not ready for it. Now, and that just breeds a certain distancing that he has to for laining, a certain resistance. Laining is like synonymous with a torture chamber. Chas v'shalom. Maybe you could have him stay for the beginning of laining. Of course, tell him don't walk out during the laining. We don't walk out. But when gav maybe you could. But do it with seichel that his first introduction to laining should be a pleasant one. Laining is the Dvar Hashem, and it has to be a very pleasant experience. So if he's not ready, if he's resisting, he's probably lo hagia lechinuch, so he's patur. There's no one age that fits all. Of course, a child should not play with svarim. I've seen children playing with it, opening pages. The Shul already writes that being mazik svarim is not part of a heta of bring them to shul. The next group of questions shouldn't be a problem, but it is. And that is what's to be done when a child is disturbing. So I'll tell you something, it's Mavel Harayin, but there's a siman, Tzadik Vav, Sheyimne Kol Tirdaish Gedei Sheyechaven. Person should come to shul, first remove all distractions. Says the Birkei Yosef on this Mechaba, that bringing a child to shul is the biggest distraction. And it shouldn't be done. He says, the Toisen Chagiga, that you bring a child to shul, that's only Shloi B'Shas Tefillah. I don't know what he means. But definitely one thing is clear. A child that doesn't belong in shul should not be brought to shul, period. Even though there's a big hashpah on the child. If the child is making noise and disturbing, Even though the father is Milah Shmei Nesra, so let me tell you, the father should mechaber himself with Hagba, pick up the child and carry him out. Rabbi Yashiv in the Ashrei Ish on Kuf Gimel, he says, even though Shmei Nesra we don't walk around, but if he's disturbing a tzibah, it's the father's obligation to carry the child out. Now don't get me wrong, I know the halachas regarding Shmei Nesra. I mean, for example, the Chayodam, the Shulchan right, if someone has a suffix what to do during Shmei Nesra, you can't motion someone else to help me. What should he do? I don't know. But you can't do anything during Shmei Nesra. The Chayodam also discusses when the Rav is davening Shmei Nesra and they're waiting for him, he doesn't want to wait for him, he shouldn't even motion, go without me. Because you don't do anything during Shmei Nesra. Now, Baruch Hashem, the Sharei Tshuva is mekel in both those halachis. If a person that can't have kavanah because they're waiting for him, he can make a motion. But during Shmei Nesra, all agree, nothing goes. For example, the child is davening the wrong Shmei Nesra. It came to regular Shabbos, he opened the Siddur, and he's davening Yom Kippur Shmei Nesra. So don't tell the child to stop, because you're Milah Shmei Nesra. What he does is his problem. He's making brachas Vatala, but not Lefnei HaMelech. If a child asks you what to say, so the Paisim say, don't answer, Milah Shmei Nesra. You should have told him before. Hopefully he won't keep on badgering. If Imamish is disturbing you, you're allowed to stop. But the basic attitude is Shmei Nesra, Lefnei HaMelech, and nothing goes. Remember the Mishnah? I feel nachash, karach ala kevai. But there's one thing that's intolerable during Shmei Nesra, and that is when one's child is disturbing. He can't be chav lacherim. How many times it happens, child makes noise and people start getting agitated, no, and the father is davening Shmei Nesra and oblivious or making himself oblivious. It's an avla. If he doesn't belong there, don't bring him there. But if it's a problem, take him out. I saw the Mishnas Yosef, one of the Gdolei HaPoskim in Eretz passed away not long ago. He has the following shaila. Someone came to the shir and he brought his cell phone and put it down on the table. He didn't close it. Then he went to Avamirav and left the phone by his Makom Kavua learning. And Milah Shmei Nesra, don't ask me why, I didn't close the phone. It might start ringing. His wife's going to call him, don't forget to buy 2 dozen eggs on the way home from Shul. Everybody has to hear his wonderful message. So even though it's only a suffix, some might call, he should stop Shmei Nesra, walk to this Makom Kavua for learning, and close the cell phone. When you're dealing with the rabbim, we don't take a chance. So any problem that the child is causing is the parent's obligation. So yes, if he's davening the wrong Shmei Nesra, it's your problem, ignore it. If he's asking what to do, ignore him. But when it comes to disturbing someone else, chas v'shalom to allow it. And it has to be mentioned, people don't realize that you're playing a risk. Now, Poshet Kipshute, when the child, pardon me, is not clean, when you can't daven in the dalaramas of the child, he's being machshol the rabbim. He shouldn't brought in the first place. A diaper child should not be in shul. But if you notice he's there and he has a problem, stop Shmei Nesra and carry him out. Because you can't daven, no one else can daven. It's wrong to just leave him there. The best eitzah, like always, Chacham Eina B'Roishai, don't bring the child when he's too young. Rabban Tzina Abba Shaul, Chelik Beis, Perek Memhei, Sif Laman Aleph. He says, let's say the wife is in the city and he's in charge of the son. And either he brings a child or can't go to minyan. So you know what the best eight is? He says the only eight is daven b'yechidus. There's no head you should disturb others because of tefillah b'tziba. Now, if you could find an eitzah, but to have this attitude, I must daven and I must be a good husband, I must babysit my child, is wrong. You be a good husband the rest of your life, but not at the expense of others. And the last group of questions is the questions of young girls. Is there an inyan to bring young girls? Is it beneficial? Should it be encouraged? Should it be discouraged? So we're tempted to say, well, let's put things in perspective. Women are patur from davening, but that's wrong. Let me remind you, women are chayiv in davening. The Mishnah in Brachas Daf Chav says women are patur from tefillin, but they're chayiv in tefillah. There's the Mishnah. Now, we do know the famous Magen Avram. This was the Metzias, that women didn't daven because they didn't know how to daven. The women of generations ago didn't know how to daven. And they would rely on a tefillah ktsara, any type of tefillah, and that was a davening. But today the women daven. So maybe there is an inyan to bring girls, mechanach the girls, to tefillah. So the truth is that women are chayiv in davening, but they're not chayiv in tefillah b'tzibur. There's a fascinating tshuva in the Shvus Yakov, Chayla Gimel, Siman Nun Dalid, a story of politics that someone had a shul in his house, and everybody came, and once he got into a fight with the neighbor, and he didn't want the neighbor to come. Could he do that? Because now it's a shul. We see, I guess, nothing has changed. Things are always like that. So he writes there that one thing for sure, women are not chayiv in tefillah b'tzibur. So the missus who she's in a fight with shouldn't come to shul. But he does mention with a pashit that women are not chayiv in tefillah b'tzibur. And that's taka why you should know some kehilas did not encourage girls coming to shul. The Gra, in the famous Igeris HaGra, when he set sail to Eretz, he left his wife and his mother with specific instructions. He says, Bitcha, better they shouldn't come to shul. Because they come to shul, they see fancy dresses, it becomes a fashion show, and they end up with Lashon Hara and Kina. Yoisatoy, they should daven at home. Because in Beis HaKnesses, Afshali Natzel, Mikina, Ulishmoy Dvarim Betelim, B'kol Shkeim B'Shabbos V'Yamim Tovim. Now, I don't know what was doing in Vilna, in time of the Vilna Gaon, but he preferred that women should not come to shul, because, people come, they dress their best, and it starts to make the other woman thinking, maybe I should also. So he made it categorically wrong for them to go to shul. I did see a mild approach, the Tshuva Meyahava, that was a Talmud of the Noida Yehuda. He was the Rav in Prague. So it's also a fascinating tshuva. In Chelik Beis, hard to find it, but in Chelik Beis, Amid Yud, you could see it inside. There was someone who passed away and left no sons, only daughters. Can the daughters say Kaddish? That was the Shailas Gastan. So he says that he's seen people have that minhag, but to him it's not right, especially women should come into shul, is unthinkable. And his lashon is Ladas Hazoy V'Chachmei Emes Ha'isha B'Beis Hashem is like Hamadas Pesel Sham. Ma'ali Cotton, Ma'ali Godol. So his feeling was girls should not come to shul, in the men's section, of course, even at a young age. And he said, but mitzvah loima dava hanishma, and nebuch dava shein nishma. So definitely, there was a school of thought not to encourage girls to come to shul. But as we see today, there is a chinuch aspect. Girls do come, girls are makpid to daven, even tefillah b'tzibur. And the truth is, I must tell you, it has a base in Gemara. There's a famous Gemara in Soita of Chav Beis. The Gemara says we learn out different things from different people. We learn Yerushalayim from a girl, and we learn Kibul Schar from an almana. What's the story? Gemara tells a story. There was an almana in the neighborhood of one of the Gedolim who would go to the furthest shul for davening. So this God asked this woman, why are you going to that shul? There's a shul around the corner. She goes, I want to get more schar alicha. So the Magen Avram and Simon Tzadik got in Chav Beis. This is a makar that if you have two shuls to go to the further shul. But we do see tefillah b'tzibah by women was practiced. Also, this is a Yalkut Shemaini in Parshas Ekev is Simon Tov Sof Ayin Aleph Maval Arayin. There was an old woman in the neighborhood of Rabbi Yossi ben Chalafta who gave old new meaning. She was so old that she didn't enjoy life any longer, and she felt it was adkan. She couldn't go on like this. So she came to Rabbi Yossi, what should I do? So he says, well, what are you doing special to keep you alive? She goes, I don't know, but one thing I do, I daven every day in shul, tefillah b'tzibur. I was okay, so then stop davening, tefillah b'tzibur. And after 3 days, she promptly died. Okay, that's an interesting, a assisted suicide, but that's the Medrash says. I know my Rebbeim Zechanu Levracha, Masano Quinn told us his mother lived till 111. Kamat till the end, she lived alone. And the schusim, she said, was one, Shmiras Haloshin, and number two, she always went to shul. So it's obvious that there is definitely a mile in going to shul, but I would say more than that. For us today, we're a little more educated, we could point to Beferish and Masechta Sefer. Masechta Sefer, Perikut Ches, Mishnah Vav, Mikan Nohagu, B'nois Yisrael Ketanes, Lovely Beis HaKnesses. So it's not a Heintige Minig. It's based on the pasuk Tapchem, going on girls. But like everything else said till now, it's Miva Miyalchem. The question is Is it going to be litein schar lemivei ehem? Or chas v'shalom litein oynish? When a girl comes to shul, dressed properly, stays in the Ezras Nashim and davens, it's a wonderful thing, like the mother. If they come to see what else is doing by other people's clothing, they're looking for trouble. That we don't have to say. But a girl comes to shul with pure intentions, it should be encouraged. I saw a tshuva from Moshe, I don't remember another tshuva, something similar. In Yeridei Chelik Beis, Siman Ches, the Shoyal wrote to Rav Moshe that he saw our Masechta Seif that I mentioned, that it says that the adults come to learn, and the women come, and the children come, litein schar lemiviyayim. So if you look at the Nachlas Yakov on the side, he seems to infer that the ketanim ketanas don't get schar really, because they're young. Who gets the schar? The adults. So Moshe writes, how could you even think of saying something that's so wrong like that? How could you even learn pshat in the Nachlas Yakov like that? And he goes on criticizing, how could you think such a corrupted pshat? A person comes to shul, he gets schar, even if he's not mechuyev, but there's an mitzvah. And Moshe criticized him, how do you even entertain a havamina to think that way? So obviously there's a schar for girls coming to shul. But it has to be done with tznius. Now one point I should mention, a young girl under 3, okay, they come into even the men's side. But beyond the age of 3 years old, where the Bialach in Siman Ayin Hey writes that the mechuyev to come dressed like an adult woman, the right size dress and sleeve length. So even though some people are saying on the Heilig Chazanish and Tazayin, Sivkot and Ches, that argues in the Mishnah that the age of 3 is too young, it's an age when she looks like a girl, maybe they say 5 or 6. So at home you could do what you want. But to come into shul exposed, like the Mishnah is improper, how do you do that? And Kolsh game when it's above the age. And someone told me recently, a Ben Torah, he says, I come to shul and Pashut, I don't understand, people are not thinking. They bring their girls into shul, not dressed properly, and they're above the age of 5 or 6. Now what the heck is, I don't know. But this is litein oynish lemiviyayim. Now again, if the minhag in your shul is like the Chazanish, that until 5 you could come, so Rabbi Yashvin, a tshuva chelik beis siman ches, fine. But most shuls don't have a specific takana, and the understanding is we follow the Mishnah Berurah, and you want to do in your house is fine. But to come to shul when it's inappropriately dressed, that's something that's obviously wrong. And also something that I'm surprised about. Some people think is also part of the Sefer Sadibris that the girls must come to shul in the men's section for davening. Why is that? Upstairs also the Baruch now. Even if for some reason the women are not in front of the Kahanim, let's say that as Nashim is behind the Kahanim, but they're Amshe B'Sadas, they have no other choice. So it has to be done with Seichel. Now there are some days of the year that we start getting a little of a mixed message. Lamashal, in Shulchan Aruch Taf Reish Peites, Machabes Minik Toiv Lahavi Ketanim Uktanois Lishmoya Mikra Megdillah. Bring children, boys and girls to shul. But it doesn't say bring the girls into the men's section. But more than that. Zok the Mishnah Berurah, today it became a nahapachu. They don't come to shul to listen to the Megillah, they come to shul to make noise. And I want to make a point because Makam She'einish. Children come with their most original way of making noise. Now, but they can't just make noise with everybody else. They wait till the shul quiets down, and then they have their solo noise. 2 avos. First of all, Tircha de Tzibura. They extend the Mikra Megillah by an extra 2 or 3 minutes, probably maybe more than that. But more than that, there are people that are still fasting. At night in the Megillah, people are fasting. And it's probably more than 2 or 3 minutes. It's unbearable. It's quiet, and it makes this big noise. That's part of the father's chinuch. Now the child maybe doesn't think of that, but that's the part of the father's chinuch. Plus, the Mishnah Berurah says, you bring your child to him Megillah only when he's a Gil Chinuch. Like Gil Chinuch doesn't belong in shul. Another point, and that's based on a Maril. Minhagim Shaifa Aleph, he writes a very extreme lashon. Nizgava pliya be'einayim. It's a pliya to me. Why people bring young children to shul for Tkiyah Shaifa in the men's section. Boys or girls, doesn't belong there. They make noise. If they have to be brought to shul, let them go with the women who are not a chayiv in Shaifa anyhow. Even though today they are more nizar. But again, to bring a child during the Kiyah Shaifa in the men's section is wrong. There is an inyan Yom Kippur that Kavachayim Tofreish Tezayin Sivkat and Yud says there's a schooler to bring a child here Yom Kippur davening, okay, but it shouldn't stare. And last but not least, the Yakov is a very heilig avodah. Some do have the minhag, I should mention, that by the Yakov the girls or the women come into the back of the shul. Okay, that's the minhag. But it has to be done by Oifen Tznius. And one last point, maybe Achrein Chaviv. This is probably the last week we're going to be until after the summer. And I feel very much beholden, very much of a feeling of Kar Satoiv, that this beautiful, beautiful Kiddush Hashem has continued for another year. And I want to thank the Shlosh Shutfim that have brought this Kiddush Hashem to such a beautiful level. First of all, the Mokim, the Besmedrish that has done so much for us over the years. Number two, those that make sure things happen, the very, very devoted of Simcha, Deutsche Sein Gesund, who's always there for us 24/7, and his devotion is very much appreciated. I thank him, and the Rebbe Shalom should make his Simcha after the summer with the greatest Simcha possible. I thank you all for making this Simcha possible, and most of all, who's never here because he always shies the limelight, and that's the Taira Blazer Baruch Bald, who has devoted himself Kulei Habatzas Torah, making this shir accessible, all the shir accessible around the world at no income whatsoever. He gave up any last income just to make sure that Torah is learned around the world. It's Kedai Taka to help him in the Avodas HaKodesh. But we thank all of those that made this Kiddush Hashem possible, and we hope the next year should be in Yishalayim Habnuya. Amein v'amein. Okay, let's catch this.
Shem Egan Shuritar, like the biggest Shretter of Smith. Of course, Val Kulon, the biggest Yashakar goes to Rav Smith Shlita for preparing all week and delivering the Shir and B'tuv Tam V'das for all these years and decades. Be'ez Hashem, the summer Shir Meflapash will be starting this Tuesday night at 9 o'clock in Boston Shul, Avenue Jane East 29th. Come and bring your friends. Kananje ben ik zitten zummer, kananje ben ik kashoim en wat er is boven de zaken is zelf hier hebben ter midden nemen al een hofes en al zeker jaargol ter weerde. Okay. Well, I say there's no children to disturb, so we'll have to seek him on bringing children to Shul. Rav Smith. Bonim Lamokim.
Ready? Just let's chaz what we learned today. There is definitely a source to bring children to Shul, boys and girls, but there are problems that have to be resolved. You have to make sure not oynish chas v'shalom. There's definitely a big hashpah when a child, even a baby, hears Torah or tefillah, like we showed. But again, it shouldn't be b'mak b'shechav lacherim. Part of schar l'miviyayim is the parent has to do it right. So basically, what it means is that it's a good idea to make guidelines. If a certain age doesn't work, they should not be brought to shul. Even if this child is something special, you can't be machalik. There has to be a loy plug. But definitely, there are certain guidelines that have to be made. What age? Not. When the child is ready, then he should be brought for the time that he could sit through. If it's too long, so bring him at the end, in the beginning, whatever it is. But lefi chorfei, the age, there's no fixed age. 6 or 7, 8 or 9. It's l'chanoy chanar al pi darkoi. There are things that we make in the program to keep him involved, saying amein, kissing sefer Torah, getting Galilah occasionally, show them how to do the Galilah, shouldn't be embarrassed. Kissing during davening, we discussed, basically in Shul is a problem, during davening is a problem. The question is by a kiddush, you can be mekel b'makom of kvoid abriya, since it's no longer shas tefillah, but it's lav dafka, one's own child, even another person, if it's mitoich ahava. Mitoich kavod is mutter, but a display of ahava is the problem. If you'll cause busha, you can be saimach that after davening it's mutter, but basically the shul should be the place of avas Hashem. The halacha to avoid walking in front of a child should be observed unless he doesn't belong there. If he davened by the door, so he's a barber shesarab, and you could ignore him. A child should come to shul with a yarmulke over the age of 3, perhaps even under 3. Some are makbid, but I think the main thing is after 3. Under the talis during duchening, keep it quiet, shouldn't disturb others. The age for Kriyas HaTorah depends on the child. It's kedai to make it piecemeal, so it shouldn't be too much. To highlight the schus of laining is the best way to make an appreciation for laining. A child that's disturbing during davening or not clean must be carried out, period. The better eitzes don't bring the child, but lifnei hamelech is chamor, but it doesn't justify letting a child disturb. The inyan of bringing girls, there is an inyan, young girls as well, but if there's any bad results, it turns into a fashion show, lashon hara, it should be discouraged. They should comply with the inyan tznius. The special halacha for Megillah is when the child is ready to bring, he could come to the shul. The same thing with Kiyah Shaifa, they shouldn't disturb. Hakafa should be done with the same tznius and kedusha like the rest of the year.
Because the character of Smith Shlita for this year and all the other shiurim. This today's shiur was learned Lili Nishmas Aisha Shoshana Bas Bachanan Ala Shalom and Lili Nishmas Aisha Rivka Bas Bachanan Ala Shalom. Tenish B'Shem Tzuras with Sarah Chaim. Once again, to have the great solicitor sponsoring a shiur called Irgin Shiur Torah 718-851-8651 or email ist@yeshivanet.com. Don't forget the summer shiurim starting in Flatbush Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Avenue J, East 29th in the Boston Shul. Guten Sommer.
When is the Sunday shiur?